It's the worst of the CBC for January 15th, 2021, the show where I watch the CBC so you don't have to. Hopefully this one won't be that long. I'm going to be honest, I only skimmed the CBC's The National today because from my own mental health, I've been taking it down because when I saw the videos of the insurrection, the rioting, my first response is like, no, don't riot. This is really, really bad. I don't like this. Then when I start to see the media's coverage of it, I'm like, I turn to my wife and I go, honey, grab me my insurrecting rifle because we're going to storm the parliament. And this has to stop because, one, I don't own a rifle, and two, I'm not married. So, clearly, too much CBC for me. But I went through it today because there's one story I'm like, will they cover this? And I'm guessing not, but they didn't. Now, you would think that Canada is a land of multiculturalism, and we hate hate crimes, and we hate neo-Nazis. And you know what the Nazis did? They were really bad. They committed a genocide against two, primarily the Jews, but also some Polacks, some Gypsies, gays, disabled people too. But 6 million Jews died in the Holocaust, and that was what the Nazis did. And we want to fight Nazis. And who's the biggest Nazi out there? Donald Trump, and that's what we're focusing on. In our quest to fight neo-Nazis. You know what might qualify as Nazi-like behavior? To me, at least, a little bit. Do you think that spray painting swastikas on a synagogue and carrying a canister of gasoline to light the Jews on fire would account for some sort of Nazi-ish behavior? I do. That happened in Montreal. Found the guy who's arrested, not a single... Now, they did write an article in the CBC, and the CBC's take was, he's being evaluated for mental health. They're going to have a psychiatric evaluation. You know what? Psychiatric evaluation done, we know where he is, and turns out he's a BDS guy. What's his psychiatric evaluation? He's a radical leftist. And I was saying, the radical left's view on the Jews is, we agree with Adolf Hitler. Now, we're going to call it anti-Zionism, not anti-Semitism, but when the brass tacks comes to it, we believe in a policy that would eradicate 6.5 million Jews through the destruction of Israel. Now, it's not anti-Semitism, it's anti-Zionism. That's why I went to a synagogue, because synagogues have nothing to do with Judaism, and I spray-painted swastikas on it because, Israel's the real Nazis, and that was the thing, and I was going to light them all on fire, right, so they can die and be burned to death, because I hate the Nazis. Zero coverage on the CBC's The National. Imagine if that was a mosque. Imagine for 1 second that I had gone to a mosque, spray painted some swastikas on it, or, I don't know, a picture of Muhammad, a stick figure of Muhammad, and had a canister. I'm like, I'm just going to burn all these Muslims to death. Do you not think that would be the top story? It would be, it wouldn't be 24-hour news, it would be 25-hour news. They'd legislate another hour into the day so you could hear more about the story of me going to the mosque to try and burn it down on the CBC. Ridiculous. Clearly the biggest omission of the day. So what's his psychiatric evaluation? He's a radical leftist. Do you think he might have been radicalized by all the propaganda being pushed against Israel on your network, CBC? The lies you've been telling that I've been calling out? Maybe. Do you think that the radical left's anti-Semitism is leading to more anti-Semitic acts? Yeah. And all of a sudden, we don't really care about hate crimes anymore because it's not the right type of hate crime. And it was a leftist. So that's the biggest omission. Worst covered story of the day is, I'm sure you've all heard the news that, Canada's lagging behind the vaccines. We didn't procure vaccine support. We declined the option to buy 1 million more vaccines. Supplies are being delayed. But what do? They did a story that vaccine production is going to ramp up in April. So in April, we're going to see a big spike in April. Yeah, no coverage of the fact that we're actually falling behind our targets and all the condescension of yes, we did one vaccine. We're the third country in the world to stick a vaccine in the arm. Whoop-de-friggin-do. Yeah, but now we're falling behind rapidly at the other Western industrialization because Justin Trudeau didn't procure them, and it turns out the Conservatives were right. They were absolutely right when they said we were going to be at the back of the line. So, there you go. Worst of the CBC. There was a Rosemary Barton segment. I just to go over it. The cabinet shuffle. I'm just assuming they didn't cover the fact that we now have a terrorist supporter, Omar Al-Ghabra, in cabinet. So, you know what? Who cares? Who cares? 9 out of 10 on the Rosemary Barton scale of bias. See you later today for the other video. Unless that one came out first and this came out second. Who knows what I'm going to put out first.